Welcome to the final project for this course. In this final project, we'll be modeling this beautiful isometric room in Blender. This room will be modeled from scratch. Everything that you see will be modeled by you step by step. So let's go ahead and get started. Let's start by pressing A button to select everything and then press delete. So this is going to delete everything that we have. And now we can press Shift A to open add menu. And then under mesh, we're going to add a cube. Now we're going to press G to grab along the Z axis and then 1 meter. This is going to make sure that it's placed exactly above the grid. And now we can tap into edit mode, switch to face selection mode by pressing 3 on the keyboard, and we're going to select these 3 faces, press X to open the delete menu, and select faces. Now we're going to select this bottom face, and then press P button on the keyboard to open the separate menu, and we're going to separate by selection. Now we can tap out of edit mode. Now we have these 2 objects, one for the floor and one for the walls. To add thickness to these objects, we're going to use solidify modifier because it's going to give us better control over the thickness and it's going to be non-destructive. So let's click on this gear icon and then under add modifier, generate, we're going to go ahead and add a solidify modifier. Since we're not modeling against a reference image, what I like to do is just play around with this value until I like the result, and then I enter an exact amount. And if this value is moving too fast, you can hold down Shift and then left click and hold to drag. This is going to give you better control over it. Let's go ahead and click on this box, and then we're going to type in -0.2, and just like that we have the depth added. And if we look from the top, you can see that this extrusion isn't even, so we're going to make sure that even thickness is enabled. Now we just need to copy this modifier over to the floor object. To do that, we can select our floor object, hold on Shift, click on the walls. So that's this inactive selection, and then we can press Ctrl L to open the link data menu and copy modifiers. Now we're going to select our floor object and change the offset so that the extrusion happens on the inside. Now we just need to apply these modifiers, so we can select our object and then click on this down pointing arrow and select apply. Or we can also hover our cursor over the modifier and press Ctrl A on the keyboard. Now we're going to select our walls and add a few more modifiers. So let's go ahead and click on add modifier. Under generate, we're going to add bevel modifier. And immediately you'll notice that it's going to bevel every single edge on this object. That's not something that we want, so we're going to change that. Now to change that, we need to change the limit method. Right now it's beveling every edge that has angle of 30 degrees or more, but we're going to change that to weight. And now if we tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then press N button to open the sidebar, then we have edges data, and here we have something called mean bevel weight. We're going to increase this all the way, and we're basically telling Blender to only bevel the edges which has this bevel weight. So this way we have finer control over this. And now we can tap out of the edit mode, and we're going to change some settings here. We're going to increase the number of segments to 2, and we're going to change amount to 1 meter. And then we're going to add another modifier. So under generate, we're going to add a subdivision surface modifier. And if we look from the side, you can see that the shape is a little bit curved. So we're going to fix that by going into the profile for the bevel modifier and increasing this all the way. And we're going to also increase the levels for the viewport to 2. And just like that, we have stylized, round-looking, more sort of cartoonish walls. And now we can apply these modifiers again to the floor object. So we're going to select it, hold on Shift, click on the walls, and then press Ctrl L to open the link menu and then copy modifiers. And then we're going to select the object, tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then add a bevel weight. Now we're going to tap out of edit mode, select the floor object and select the walls, right click, shade smooth, so that with objects is smooth shade. And now we're going to add a window in this area of the walls. So let's go ahead and select them and tap into edit mode. Ctrl R to add a loop cut, left click to add it, and then if you move your mouse you can see that you're able to move it, so right clicking will cancel the movement, but you did add the edge loop. Now if you look at the top, you can see that this is a little bit skewed. That's because it's creating an edge with an average of these 2 edges, but it's an easy fix. What we can do is we can press S to scale along the y-axis, and then we're going to type in 0 and press enter. Now we're going to go ahead and grab this by pressing G along the y-axis, move it to this part of the wall, and then we can bevel this by pressing Ctrl B. And again, I'm going to move my cursor until I'm happy with sort of result. And if you look at the bottom status bar, so there's the value, the width is currently close to 0.4. So we're going to type that in. And again, you can adjust this if you want to by pressing G to grab along the y-axis. And now we're going to do same thing for the horizontal edge, Control R, and then hover our cursor here, left click to add, right click to cancel the movement, and then Control B to bevel. And I'm going to just keep moving this until I'm happy. So we'll go with something like 0.5. We can make slight adjustments later on if we need to. And now we can press G to grab along Z axis to move it up a little bit like that. And then we're going to add an area for door in this area. So Control R to add a loop cut. And this time we're going to just move it slightly and then left click, Control B to bevel. And let's go with like 0.25, I would say. Yep, that would be a good value. So we're basically creating a stylized room. So exact size doesn't really matter. Just eyeball for something that you like, and that would be good. If you make a mistake, that's not a problem. Control Z to go a step back, and then you can do same thing again. So we can press Control B. Let's say, let's go with like 0.28, I would say. And then we can press G to grab along Y-axis to just fine-tune the positioning a little bit. And then we're going to add one more loop cut down here for the door. And finally, we're going to move this part a little down here. And to do that more easily, we can go ahead and switch to edge selection mode, or click on this icon, select this edge, orbit the view, hold down Control and click here. It's going to find the shortest path to that edge. So it's going to select all of those like that. G to grab along Z axis, and we're going to move it down to something like here. Now we're going to go ahead and create the holes here for the door and window. So let's switch to face selection mode, and we're going to select both faces on both sides, and then Control E to open the edge menu, and then we're going to bridge edge loops. Now we have a bit of shading issue here because we don't have the bevel weight applied, so we can press A to select everything and then add bevel weight. And then we're going to use same technique for selecting the door frame, and then Control E to open the bridge menu, bridge edge loops, A to select everything and add bevel weight. Tap out of that edit mode just to look how it's looking so far. Okay, and now we need to create the door and the window. So let's select the walls, tap into edit mode, and make sure that you're in the face selection mode. Hold on Alt key and click here. Now make sure that you're clicking here, because if you click here, then it's going to select a different direction of face loop. So we're going to click here so that the inner loop is selected. And then we're going to press Shift D to duplicate, and then right click to cancel the movement. So we did duplicate this, but we canceled the movement, so it's snapped back to its original position. If you look down here, it says add and duplicate. So we did do that. And now we can press P button to open the separate menu, and we're going to separate by selection. Tap out of edit mode, and then select that new object that we just created. Tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then Alt E to open the extrude menu. Now we're going to extrude it along faces normal, and we're going to move our cursors outside. You can hold on Shift. Actually, I made a tiny mistake here. Control Z to undo that. I forgot to dissolve these edges. So let's switch to the edge selection mode and make sure that these two edges are selected. This one and that one over there, and then press X and select dissolve edges because we want a smoother door frame. And now again, A to select everything, and then Alt E to open the extrude menu, extrude along faces normal, and we're going to hold down Shift so that we have more finer control. Now also, if you look at the top of the interface, there is an option called even thickness right now, which is set to off. So what we're going to do is press S key, and it's going to enable that. Just like that, we're going to finish that. A to select everything, and then we're going to scale this on the x-axis tiny bit. So S to scale along x-axis, and just move it out of the wall like that. A to select everything, and then add a bevel weight. And again, we're going to hold down Alt key and select this inner loop in the face selection mode. And then we're going to scale this by pressing S. And while we're doing this, we're going to press Shift X to exclude the x-axis. So now it's only scaling on Z and Y axes. And we're going to sort of fix it until that tiny edge in the corner is fixed, just like that. And we have the door frame. And now we can again select this entire loop, Shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel the movement, P to open the separate menu, and separate by selection. Tap out of edit mode, and then we're going to select this new object, tap into edit mode, A to select everything, F to fill, and then we're going to select this face, and then orbit the view, select on the outer face. And now we can press I to inset, and we're going to inset this to create the outer frame of the door. And then Control R to add loop cuts, and let's increase loop cuts to about 3. Left click to add and right click to cancel the movement. Control B to bevel, and we can hold on shift key to just fine tune it tiny bit. And then using the face selection mode, we're going to select all of these faces on both sides. And then we're going to inset them again by pressing I and just a tiny inset. And then we're going to press E to extrude and right click to cancel the movement. So the extrusion did happen if you look in the bottom left corner, but we didn't move that. So instead we're going to scale it. So let's press S and then X just to move a tiny bit in like that. A to select everything and then add bevel weight. And just like that we have a frame. Now if you want to change this depth, that's pretty simple. You just select these faces on both sides like that, and then S to scale along X-axis just like that. Let's create a handle for the door. So inside the edit mode, we're going to select this face, shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel the movement, P to open separate menu and separate by selection. Tap out of edit mode, select the new face that we just created, tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then we're going to scale it down just a tiny bit. Tap out of edit mode, grab this along the Y-axis just to move it slightly. Tap into edit mode, and then we're going to press E to extrude, and then E to extrude again, and then we're going to select this face, and then E to extrude like that. A to select everything, and then add bevel weight. Just like that. We have the door handle created, and now let's work on the window. So we're going to use a very similar method, almost same method to create the window. So let's tap into edit mode. Using the face selection mode, we're going to select this inner loop, shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel the movement, P to open separate menu and separate by selection. Select the new object that we created, tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then Alt E to open the extrude menu, extrude faces along normals, and press S to enable even thickness. Hold down shift key and just slightly move it out like that. A to select everything, scale along X-axis like that, and then add bevel weight. Finally select this inner loop again. Make sure that you click on this inside so that the inner loop is selected, and we're going to fix this corner again. So S to scale, shift X to exclude the X-axis, and we're going to sort of move it until that corner is fixed like that. And then we're going to create a copy of this, so shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel the movement, and then we're going to separate by selection. Now we're going to select this new face, tap into edit mode, A to select everything, and then F to fill. Now we're going to do this a little bit different this time, so Control R to add a loop cut, and we're going to add a loop cut exactly in the center. And now to select faces on both sides, we have to go into wireframe mode, or what is known as X-ray mode, because if you make a selection like this, then it only selects the parts of the object that are visible. So we can either click on this icon here to toggle the X-ray, or we can press Alt-Z. So I'm going to do that, and then switch to vertex selection mode by pressing 1 on the keyboard and select vertices on both sides, and then press X and then select delete vertices. And now we're going to press Alt-Z again, switch to the edge selection mode, zoom in a little bit, hold on Alt and click on this edge. It's going to select the entire border around this area, and press F to fill that. Now A to select everything and then add bevel weight. Now we're going to create one part of this window, and then we're going to mirror it over to the other side using a modifier. That's going to make it a bit easier. Now in the face selection mode, we're going to select both faces, and then we're going to press I to inset to create the outer frame, and now we're going to add a loop cut, and then we're going to bevel these loop cuts, something like that. And then using the face selection mode, we're going to select these faces on both sides, and now we're going to press I to inset, and then again E to extrude, right click to cancel, scale along X-axis to move them inward, A to select everything, and then add bevel weight. And again, you can increase this depth. I'm going to fine tune that if I need to later on. And then we just need to mirror this over to the other side. I think we should increase the depth just a tiny bit, so I'm going to go ahead and select that. And then scale along the X-axis. Okay, not much better. So now we're going to select the window, right click and set origin to geometry, so then the origin point is in center of this, and then we're going to select the window frame and do same thing. And now we're going to select the window, go to add modifier, generate, mirror modifier, scroll down, and then click on this eyedropper icon, and we're going to click on the window frame. And then we're going to enable the y-axis and disable the x-axis. And then we just need to create the handle for the window. So tap into edit mode, select this face, shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel the movement, P to separate, open separate menu, and we're going to separate that by selection. Let's go ahead and select that new object that we just created. And we're going to go into the vertex selection mode, select these two vertices, and then we're going to scale them along z-axis and type 0. This is going to fix the sort of skewed angle. Scale Z and then 0 and press enter. And now we're going to press A to select everything, scale it down just a tiny bit, and then we're going to move this along the y-axis. I think I'm going to scale this even more on the y-axis like that, and also scale it a little bit on the z-axis. And now we can press E to extrude, and then A to extrude again, and then select this outer face and extrude this to this side. A to select everything and add bevel weight. And if you need to tweak any of that parameters, you can easily do that. So we can sort of select these edges, and to do this more easily, we can go to the side view by pressing 1, and then enable the X-ray mode by pressing Alt-Z and then selecting these edges. Or if you want to fix this middle part, you can select that and then grab this along X-axis like that. And we're going to select everything as a whole. Grab this along X-axis to make it a bit more thinner, like that, and then we're going to go back into the normal shading mode. And just like that, we have the handles for the window. And finally, we're going to create some tiles down here. So we're going to select the floor object, right click, set origin to geometry so that the origin is in the center, tap into edit mode. Using face selection mode, we're going to select this face, shift D to duplicate, right click to cancel, and then we're going to separate that. Now select that new object, tap into edit mode, Control R to add a loop cut, and we're going to enter 10 loop cuts. So I'm typing in 10 on the keyboard and press enter, and then right click to cancel the movement. Now we're going to go ahead and press Control B and hold down Shift key and just add a tiny bevel like this, and then press X to open the delete menu and select faces. Now press 7 on the numpad to go to the top view, and we're going to add some loop cuts. So Control R to add a loop cut and use mouse scroll wheel to increase the number of cuts that we are adding, and then we're going to add them and then right click to cancel the movement. And now we're going to use the same technique over and over again to add more and more loop cuts. So we're sort of creating random tiling. Control R and then add the loop cuts just like that. And then while in the top view, we're going to hold down Shift key and just make a quick selection over the edge loops that we just added. Like that. Just a few more edge loops. And then we can just go closer to it. Control B to bevel and hold on Shift key and make sure that it's just a tiny bevel like that. X to open the delete menu and delete the faces. Now we're going to press A to select everything and then A to extrude, and we're going to extrude it up like that, and then select A to and press A to select everything again and then add bevel weight and tap out of the edit mode. And just like that, we have tiling added into our scene. Also, I'm going to go ahead and scale this a little bit on the x-axis, the window itself. So S to scale along x-axis just a tiny bit like that. And same thing for this door. So S to scale, actually we have to set the origin point. So right click, set origin, origin to geometry, scale along x-axis like that. Whoops, we messed up a little bit of the handle. So we need to grab this along the x-axis. And same thing for these handles. Right click, set origin point to geometry, grab along x-axis and move it closer, like that. So there we have it. So that's the base shape completed. We have a window, door, and frame for them, tiles, walls. So what I like to do is when I reach a point like this, I save my file so that if something unexpected happens, like Blender crashes or anything, we can always revert back to this step. So we're gonna go ahead and save this file, and then we're gonna continue. So we're gonna save this in an incremental way. So go to File menu and then Save. Now I have a folder on my desktop called Final Project. We're gonna save it here. You can use any naming convention that's easier for you to remember, but what I like to do is type in base shape completed, and I can also add a number at the start, so that's gonna make it easier for me to remember it. So 01 base shape completed, and I'm gonna save this Blender file. Now if anything unexpected happens, I can always go back to that step and start over again instead of starting all the way from scratch.